The dopamine war, breaking the chains of cheap pleasure. Look around you. Really look. Walk into any coffee shop, any airport terminal, any waiting room in the modern world. What do you see? You see rows of men with their heads bowed in submission. They are not praying. They are not contemplating the vastness of the universe or plotting their empires. They are feeding. They are hooked up to an invisible IV drip, hemorrhaging their attention into a black mirror that gives them nothing in return. We are living through a mass sedation event, a plague of comfort, a pandemic of cheap thrills. The modern man is walking through life in a gray haze, numb to the real world because his brain has been fried by the constant, high-voltage current of artificial pleasure. You wake up and the first thing you do is reach for the device. You scroll before you even wipe the sleep from your eyes. You are checking for validation, for news, for a hit of something. Anything to distract you from the silence of your own mind. And throughout the day, you return to it, again and again, like a rat pressing a lever. You are trading your sovereignty for a dopamine hit that lasts less than a second. This is not an accident. This is not a lack of willpower on your part. This is a war for your mind, a war for your potential. And right now, you are losing. You are losing your ability to focus, your ability to endure pain, and your ability to build something that actually matters. You have become a spectator in your own life, watching other people live, while you slowly atrophy in the comfort of the algorithm. But you are here. You are listening to this. That means a part of you is still awake. A part of you knows that this sedated existence is beneath you. You feel the rage of wasted time. Good. Hold on to that rage. We are going to use it to burn the chains. We are going to perform surgery on your habits and reclaim the biological machinery that was meant to make you a conqueror, not a consumer. Module 1. The biology of slavery. You think you are making choices. You think you decide when to open that app, when to watch that video, or when to click that link. You are wrong. You are operating on a script written by engineers who understand your biology better than you do. They have hacked the most ancient primal part of your brain, the survival drive. Let's go back to the beginning. Your brain was forged in a world of scarcity. For your ancestors, finding food was hard. Finding a mate was hard. Surviving the winter was a brutal daily grind. So, nature gave you a gift, a chemical guidance system called dopamine. When your ancestor found a bush of ripe berries, his brain released dopamine to say, "Remember this. Do this again. This is good for survival." Dopamine is not the molecule of pleasure. It is the molecule of pursuit. It is the fuel of ambition. It is the chemical that pushes a man to hunt the mammoth, to build the shelter, to cross the ocean. It is designed to reward effort. But today, the link between effort and reward has been severed. You can flood your brain with the chemical signature of a great victory just by swiping your thumb. You can trick your biology into thinking you are reproducing with a supermodel just by looking at a screen. You can feel the rush of social status just by getting a notification. Let me tell you a story about how this trap was built. It didn't start with the iPhone. It started in a basement laboratory at Harvard in the 1930s. A psychologist named B.F. Skinner was running experiments on rats. He placed a starving rat in a box with a lever. At first, the rat would wander aimlessly, but eventually it would bump the lever, and a pellet of food would drop. The rat learned quickly. Press lever. Get food. But then, Skinner changed the game. He stopped giving the food every time. He made the rewards unpredictable. Sometimes the rat pressed the lever and got nothing. Sometimes it pressed it and got a massive feast. And sometimes, just a crumb. What happened next was terrifying. The rats didn't lose interest. They went insane. They became obsessed. They pressed the lever thousands of times an hour, ignoring sleep, ignoring their own exhaustion. They were enslaved by the possibility of the reward. This is called a variable reward schedule, and this is exactly what is in your pocket right now. Every time you pull down to refresh your email, you are the rat in the box. Every time you check your likes, you are the rat. Every time you scroll to the next video, not knowing if it will be boring or hilarious, you are pulling the lever. The tech giants took Skinner's box, digitized it, and monetized your compulsion. They turned your survival instinct against you. They engineered a system where you are always hunting, but never eating, always seeking, but never satisfied. Now, I know what you are thinking. You are telling yourself that I am being dramatic. You are thinking, come on, it's just a phone. It's just a way to unwind after a hard day. I can stop whenever I want. I am in control. Are you? If you are in control, why do you feel that phantom vibration in your pocket when the phone isn't even there? Why do you feel that sudden spike of anxiety when you leave it in the other room? Why do you find yourself scrolling at 2 a.m. when you promised yourself you would sleep? This is not relaxation. Relaxation is active. Relaxation is restoration. This is distinct from numbness. What you are doing is anesthesia. You are numbing the pain of existence because you have forgotten how to bear it. You are not the master of the tool. You have become the tool for the advertiser. As long as you deny this, as long as you think this is a harmless habit, you will remain a slave. The first step to breaking out of the prison is realizing you are in one. So here is the protocol. We are going to sever the neural pathway of cheap gratification. We call this the analog anchor. For the next 24 hours, you are going to introduce friction. The enemy of addiction is friction. Currently, your dopamine is too cheap. It is too easy to access. You need to make it expensive again. Go to your phone settings. Turn the display to grayscale. Strip the color away. Make the screen look like dead concrete. Those bright red notification bubbles, they are designed to trigger urgency. In black and white, they are just gray dots. They lose their power. Next, you will create a physical distance. When you walk through your front door, the phone goes into a drawer, not on the counter, not on the couch. Inside a drawer, out of sight. If you need to check it, you must physically walk to the drawer. Stand there. Do not sit. Check what is necessary and put it back. You are turning the lever-pressing mechanism into a deliberate, inconvenient chore. You will feel the itch. You will feel the silence of the room closing in on you. You will feel the boredom rising like bile in your throat. Do not run from it. That boredom is your brain waking up. That boredom is the incubator of greatness. Sit in it. Stare at the wall if you have to. But do not press the lever. Module 2. The erosion of grit. You have lost the ability to suffer. And because you cannot suffer, you cannot succeed. I want you to think about the last time you tried to do something truly difficult, something that required sustained, unbroken mental effort. Maybe it was writing a report. Maybe it was reading a dense book. Maybe it was fixing a broken appliance. What happened the moment you hit the first wall of frustration? What happened the second your brain felt a tiny spike of boredom or confusion? You reached for the pacifier. You tabbed over to social media. You checked your texts. You broke the tension. This is the tragedy of the modern mind. We have engineered a life so frictionless, so saturated with instant relief, that our psychological tolerance for discomfort has evaporated. We have become allergic to the very thing that builds character. Grit. Grit is not just working hard when you feel motivated. Grit is the ability to maintain focus and effort when you are bored, when you are tired, and when you see no immediate reward. It is the ability to stare into the abyss of a difficult problem and refuse to blink. But your brain has been retrained. You are like a weightlifter who drops the bar the moment it feels heavy. You are micro-dosing distraction to avoid the pain of growth. You are building a habit of quitting. Every time you switch tasks because you feel a little bit of stress, you are reinforcing a neural pathway that says, "When things get hard, I escape." You are training yourself to be weak. Let us look at what real mental iron looks like. Let us look at a time before men could escape into a digital fantasy. The year is 1915. The location is the Weddell Sea, Antarctica. Sir Ernest Shackleton and his crew of 27 men are aboard the ship Endurance. They are trapped in pack ice. For months they wait. The temperature is 20 degrees below zero. The wind is a constant, screaming banshee. Then, the ice begins to crush the ship. Imagine the sound, the groaning of timber, the snapping of masts, the cacophony of destruction as their only shelter, their only way home, is splintered into kindling by the crushing force of the frozen ocean. The ship sinks. They are stranded on a floating sheet of ice, thousands of miles from civilization, with no radio, no GPS, and no hope of rescue. They camped on the ice floes for months. There was no stimulation. There was no escape. Just the blinding white horizon, the biting cold, and the terrifying reality of their likely death. They didn't have a screen to hide in. They couldn't scroll away the fear. They couldn't distract themselves from the hunger gnawing at their bellies or the wet, freezing clothes clinging to their skin. They had to sit with it. They had to exist in the raw, unfiltered reality of their suffering. And yet, they did not break. Shackleton kept them disciplined. They played soccer on the ice. They held dog races. They told stories. They maintained a rigid schedule. Shackleton knew that if they gave in to despair, if they allowed their minds to rot, they would die. When the ice broke up, they boarded 3 small lifeboats. They spent 7 days on the open ocean, battling hurricane-force gales and waves the size of buildings. They were covered in saltwater boils, dehydrated, and freezing to death. Shackleton stood at the tiller for days on end, refusing to sleep, refusing to yield, staring into the gray wall of the storm. He didn't have dopamine hits. He had duty. He had a mission. He had the absolute, unshakable will to bring his men home. And he did. Every single one of them. Compare that glacial resolve to your current state. You get anxious if the Wi-Fi is slow. You get depressed if your post doesn't get enough likes. You feel burned out from sitting in an air-conditioned office chair. It is an insult to your ancestors. You have the luxury of safety, yet you lack the fortitude to utilize it. You are soft. And in a world that is getting harder, softness is a death sentence. Now, I know what you are thinking. You are getting defensive. You are saying, "But I have a stressful job. I have responsibilities. I grind every day. I'm not soft. I'm just busy." Let me correct you. You are not busy. You are distracted. There is a difference. Busyness is a chaotic state of shallow work. You are bouncing between emails, meetings, and messages like a pinball. That is not grit. That is nervous energy. That is your brain frantically trying to look productive while accomplishing nothing of substance. True grit is stillness. True grit is deep work. It is the ability to shut out the world for 4 hours and produce a masterpiece. It is the ability to sit in silence and solve a problem without needing a hit of entertainment every 10 minutes. If you cannot sit alone in a room for 30 minutes without stimulating your brain, you are not free. You are a prisoner of your own impulses. You are reacting, not creating. So, how do we rebuild this callus over your mind? How do we retrain your brain to endure the friction of hard work? We introduce the friction protocol. For this exercise, we are going to use a technique I call the impossible stare. This is a cognitive endurance test. It is boring. It is painful. And that is the point. Find a small object, a coin, a pen, a candle flame. Place it on a table in front of you. Set a timer for 15 minutes. Your mission is simple. Stare at the object. Do not look away. Do not close your eyes. Do not check the time. Your mind will revolt. After about 45 seconds, your brain will start screaming. It will tell you that this is stupid. It will tell you that you have better things to do. It will remind you of an email you need to send. It will make your nose itch. It will flood you with anxiety. This is the withdrawal. This is your dopamine-addicted brain throwing a tantrum because it isn't getting its fix. Do not move. Let the boredom wash over you. Let the irritation rise. Observe it. Feel the physical urge to twitch, to reach for your phone. And then, crush that urge. Hold your gaze. You are teaching your brain a new lesson. You are teaching it that you are in charge. You are teaching it that boredom does not kill you. You are strengthening the anterior cingulate cortex, the part of your brain responsible for willpower. If you can master the ability to do nothing, to sit in the discomfort of silence, then you can master anything. Because when the real work comes, when the difficult project lands on your desk, you won't run. You will have the mental callus to handle the weight. You will have the discipline of steel. Module 3, the fractured mind. You are everywhere, and therefore, you are nowhere. This is the diagnosis of the modern condition. We spoke of addiction. We spoke of grit. Now we must speak of focus. Because right now, your mind is a crime scene. It is a room where a grenade has gone off. Shrapnel is embedded in the walls. The furniture is overturned. There is smoke and confusion everywhere. You pride yourself on your ability to multitask. You wear it like a badge of honor. You answer emails while on a conference call. You listen to a podcast while you work out. You text your wife while you are driving. You think you are being efficient. You think you are hacking the system to get more done in less time. You are lying to yourself. You are not multitasking. That is a biological impossibility. The human brain cannot process two cognitively demanding tasks simultaneously. What you are doing is task switching. You are rapidly toggling your attention back and forth thousands of times a day. And every time you switch, you pay a tax, a cognitive tax. It is called attention residue. When you switch from writing a report to checking a text, a part of your brain stays stuck on the text when you try to go back to the report. You are operating with partial capacity. You are permanently mentally fragmented. You are hemorrhaging your IQ points with every notification you acknowledge. You are building a life of shallow impact. You are busy, yes, but you are not effective. You are skimming the surface of existence like a stone skipping over water, never diving deep enough to find the treasure. To understand the power of the unified mind, the mind that gathers all its energy into a single laser-like beam, we look to the east. We look to the master of the blade, Miyamoto Musashi. Japan, 1612, the dawn of the Edo period. Musashi is a ronin, a masterless samurai. He is 29 years old and has already fought over 60 duels to the death. He is undefeated, but now he faces his greatest rival, Sasaki Kojiro. Kojiro is known as the demon of the western provinces. He wields a nodachi, a massive, two-handed sword called the drying pole. It is long, heavy, and lethal. Kojiro is a master of technique. He is elegant. He is refined. He is waiting on the beach of Ganryu Island for the duel to begin. Musashi is late. This is not an accident. Kojiro waits. The officials wait. The crowd waits. The sun beats down on the sand. Kojiro becomes agitated. He paces. He feels disrespected. His mind begins to fracture. He is thinking about the time. He is thinking about the insult. He is thinking about everything except the present moment. Finally, a small boat appears on the horizon. It is Musashi. He is not dressed in fine armor. He is wearing rags. He has no sword at his hip. As the boatman rows, Musashi sits in silence. He is not sharpening a steel blade. He is carving a wooden oar with a small knife. He is whittling it down into a crude weapon called a bokken. He is calm. He is entirely self-contained. He is not worrying about Kojiro's reputation. He is not worrying about the crowd. He is in the void. A state of mushin, no mind. When the boat hits the sand, Musashi steps out. Kojiro, furious at the delay, draws his massive sword and charges. He throws his scabbard into the sea. Musashi smiles and says quietly, "You have lost, Kojiro. Why would the victor throw away his scabbard?" Kojiro attacks. A flash of steel. He swings for Musashi's head. Musashi does not block. He does not flinch. He steps inside the arc of the blade and brings the wooden oar down on Kojiro's skull with the force of a falling tree. One strike. Kojiro falls dead. The duel is over. Musashi did not win because he was faster. He did not win because he was stronger. He won because his mind was a fortress. Kojiro's mind was scattered by anger, by anticipation, by the future. Musashi's mind was anchored in the absolute, terrifying now. He brought the full weight of his existence into a single, decisive motion. That is the power you have lost. You are Kojiro. You are standing on the beach, anxious, checking your watch, throwing your scabbard away, reacting to the noise. You are easily baited. You are easily broken. Now, I know what you are thinking. You are thinking, "That is a nice story, but I am not a samurai. I work in sales. I work in tech. I have a family. I cannot just ignore the world. If I don't answer my boss in 5 minutes, I'm in trouble. If I don't check the news, I'll be uninformed. Listen to me closely." This is the slave mentality speaking again. You are confusing responsiveness with responsibility. You believe that being constantly available makes you valuable. It does not. It makes you a commodity. It makes you a router, simply passing information from one place to another. The people who run the world, the true elite, do not live in their inboxes. They are hard to reach. They disappear for days to think. They prioritize deep, creative output over shallow communication. If you want to be treated like a king, stop acting like a courier. You are afraid of missing out. But by trying to consume everything, you are missing your own life. You are a ghost in your own home, physically present, but mentally scrolling through a feed of strangers. It is time to reintegrate your soul. Here is the protocol. We call this the Citadel method. A citadel is a fortress. It has high walls. It has a gate. And that gate is locked. Nothing enters without permission. You are going to build a citadel around your work. For the next week, you will carve out one singe block of time per day. 90 minutes, no less. During these 90 minutes, you enter the citadel. Step 1. Phone mode. Not silent. Not vibrate. Airplane mode. Or better yet, powered down and left in another room. Step 2. Browser discipline. Close every single tab that is not directly related to the task at hand. If you are writing, you have the document open. That is it. No email. No news. No stock. Tickers. Step 3. The siege. You sit and you work on one thing, one single objective. You do not switch. You do not check. When the urge to toggle arises, and it will arise, you will feel a physical tension in your chest. That is the addiction leaving the body. That is your brain begging for a distraction. You will acknowledge it, and you will return to the work. You are going to feel slow at first. You will feel like you are wading through mud. But after about 20 minutes, something magical will happen. You will slip into the slipstream. The noise will fade. The time will dilate. You will enter a state of flow. In this state, you are dangerous. In this state, you can achieve in 90 minutes what the distracted masses achieve in a week. You are reclaiming your cognitive sovereignty. You are sharpening your mind back into a blade capable of cutting through the noise. Build the citadel. Defend the gate. Become the master of your attention, or remain the slave of the algorithm. Module 4. The Court of Ghosts. You are not living your own life. You are performing it. Walk through your day and observe your own behavior. Observe the way you speak, the way you dress, the way you post on that little black screen. Who is it for? Are you doing it because it aligns with your internal code? Or are you doing it to solicit a reaction from the crowd? You are terrified of disapproval. You are terrified of looking stupid. You are terrified of being misunderstood. The modern man has become a chameleon, constantly changing his colors to blend in with the moral landscape of the day. You have outsourced your self-esteem to a tribunal of strangers. You curate your life to look successful, happy, and virtuous for an audience that does not care about you. You are chasing the like, the nod of approval, the digital pat on the head. And in doing so, you have handed the leash of your soul to the mob. As long as you require their applause, you are their slave. If they can lift you up with praise, they can destroy you with criticism. You are building your house on the sand of public opinion. A man who relies on external validation is a man who can be bought. He can be bought with a compliment. He can be controlled with a sneer. He is hollow, filled only by the echoes of others. To understand true sovereignty, to understand what it means to be immune to the opinions of sheep, we look again to Rome. We look to the man who was the conscience of the Republic, Cato the Younger. Cato was a senator. He was wealthy. He was powerful. He could have worn the finest purple-bordered togas. He could have walked with an entourage of sycophants. He could have played the political game of flattery and favors. Instead, Cato walked the streets of Rome barefoot. He wore a toga that was too short, in a color that was out of fashion. He walked without guards. He exposed himself to the sun and the rain. Why? Was he insane? Was he poor? No. He was practicing. When he walked through the forum, people laughed. They whispered. They pointed. "Look at Cato," they would say. "Look at the fool." This was exactly what he wanted. Cato was engaging in a deliberate exercise of shame inoculation. He knew that the fear of shame is a cage. He knew that if he was afraid of being laughed at, he would never be able to do what was right when the stakes were high. He was teaching himself to ignore the mob. He was teaching his nervous system that the laughter of fools cannot hurt a man of iron. He was separating his self-worth from his reputation. Years later, when Caesar marched on Rome and the Republic fell into civil war, other men folded. They switched sides to save their skins. They groveled. They panicked because they were terrified of losing their status. Not Cato. Cato stood against the tyrant until the bitter end. He led armies across deserts. He slept on the ground with his soldiers. He refused to compromise his principles for safety or praise. When he died a free man, unconquered by Caesar, because he had conquered himself first. He had spent a lifetime immunizing himself against the fear of what other people thought. You do not have this immunity. You are exposed. A single negative comment ruins your day. A smirk from a colleague makes you question your entire project. You are fragile because you have spent your life trying to please everyone. Now, I know what you are thinking. You are thinking, but reputation is everything. I need to be liked to do business. I need to network. I can't just walk around looking like a homeless person. That's social suicide. You are confusing reputation with vanity. Reputation is built on competence and integrity. It is what people say about your word. Validation is what people say about your image. You are obsessed with the image. You are obsessed with being nice rather than being effective. You are obsessed with fitting in. The most powerful men in history, the ones who built empires and changed the world, were often hated in their time. They were misunderstood. They were ridiculed. But they did not care. They had an internal compass that was louder than the external noise. If you want to lead, you must be willing to be disliked. If you want to be free, you must be willing to be misunderstood. So, how do we break the chains of validation? How do we stop performing for the ghosts in the machine? We use the black box protocol. For the next 3 days, you are going to practice the art of non-explanation. We have a nervous tick in modern society. When we say no, or when we make a decision, we immediately vomit out a list of excuses. I can't come to dinner because I have to work, and my car is acting up, and I'm really tired. You are begging for understanding. You are asking for permission to have boundaries. Stop it. For 3 days, when you decline a request, you will offer zero justification. You will simply say, "No, I can't do that," or "That doesn't work for me." And then, you will be silent. You will feel the awkwardness. You will feel the urge to fill the silence with an apology or a lie to make the other person feel better. You will feel the fear that they might think you are rude or cold. Let that fear burn. Hold the silence. Keep your face neutral. By refusing to explain yourself, you are signaling to your own brain that your choices are valid simply because you made them. You do not need a countersign from the herd. You are reclaiming your authority. You are becoming a black box, mysterious, solid, and self-contained. This is a small step, but it is the beginning of a revolution. When you stop explaining yourself to others, you stop apologizing for your existence. You stop being a mirror, reflecting the expectations of the world, and you start being the source of your own light. Walk barefoot in your own way. Let them laugh. Let them whisper. You have an empire to build. Module 5. The Puppet Master. You are a loaded gun with a hair trigger, and the world knows exactly how to fire you. Look at how you react. A car cuts you off in traffic. Your blood boils. You scream. You pound the steering wheel. A colleague makes a passive-aggressive comment. Your jaw tightens. You spend the next 3 hours ruminating, having imaginary arguments in the shower, plotting your verbal revenge. You think this is strength. You think this is standing up for yourself. You think this is passion. It is not. It is slavery. If a stranger can control your emotional state with a single sentence, you do not own yourself. You are a puppet, and they are holding the strings. They twitch a finger and you dance. They frown and you crumble. They insult you and you explode. You are completely reactive. You are a biological machine that simply responds to stimuli without a microsecond of conscious thought. This activity is a dopamine trap. Rage feels good. Righteous indignation feels powerful. When you get angry, your brain floods with adrenaline and catecholamines. You feel strong. You feel justified. But it is a false high. It is the high of a drunk man swinging at shadows. While you are busy exploding, you are losing the strategic advantage. The most dangerous men in history were not the ones who screamed the loudest. They were the ones who went quiet. They were the ones who could swallow a burning coal and smile while it went down. Let us examine the master of emotional containment, Abraham Lincoln. The year is 1863. The American Civil War is raging. The Union is bleeding. Lincoln is carrying the weight of a fractured nation on his back. He is surrounded by incompetence, betrayal, and generals who refuse to fight. The Battle of Gettysburg takes place. It is a bloodbath, but it is a victory for the Union. General Robert E. Lee begins to retreat with his battered Confederate army. They are trapped by the Potomac River, which is swollen with rain. They cannot cross. Lincoln sees the end of the war. He orders his general, George Meade, to attack immediately. He sends telegram after telegram. Attack now. Destroy the enemy. End the war. Meade does nothing. He hesitates. He makes excuses. He holds a council of war. And while he delays, the waters recede, and Lee's army escapes back into Virginia. The war will drag on for 2 more years. Thousands more will die. Lincoln is apoplectic. He is consumed by a rage so profound it nearly crushes him. He sits down at his desk and writes a letter to General Meade. He pours his fury onto the page. He tells Meade that his incompetence has cost the nation its soul. He tells him that he has prolonged the suffering of millions. The words are acid. They are true. They are devastating. But Lincoln does not send the letter. He folds it up. He writes, "To General Meade, never sent, never signed," on the envelope, and he places it in his drawer. Why? Was he afraid of confrontation? Me? He knew that the letter would do no good, would relieve his own anger for a moment, a cheap dopamine hit, but it would destroy his general. It would crush Meade's morale when the Union still needed him. Lincoln prioritized the outcome over the impulse. He chose strategic silence over emotional vomiting. He absorbed the pain. He transmuted the rage into resolve. Compare that to your life. You get an annoying email, and you hammer out a reply in 30 seconds. You hit send. You feel a momentary rush of, "I told him," followed by days of regret and damage control. You burn bridges because you cannot handle the heat of your own emotions. You are leaking energy. Every time you react to a trivial annoyance, you are hemorrhaging the focus you need for your actual mission. You are letting the world dictate your internal weather. Now, I know what you are thinking. You are thinking. But if I don't react, people will walk all over me. I can't just bottle it up. That's unhealthy. I need to let it out. This is the myth of catharsis. Psychological research shows that venting anger does not reduce it. It rehearses it. It reinforces the neural pathways of rage. The more you scream, the easier it becomes to scream next time. You are training yourself to be a volcano. And regarding people walking all over you, silence is louder than screaming. When someone disrespects you and you respond with absolute icy calm, it is terrifying. It signals that you are not threatened. It signals that you are operating on a level above them. The man who yells is the man who is afraid. The man who stares in silence is the predator. So, how do we cut the strings? How do we regain the gap between stimulus and response? We use the 24-hour freeze protocol. This is a rule for high-stakes communication. But we are going to practice it on the small things first. For the next week, whenever you feel the spike of a negative emotion, anger, frustration, defensiveness, you are forbidden from reacting for 60 seconds. Someone insults you. Freeze. The website crashes. Freeze. Your kid spills the milk. Freeze. Physically freeze. Do not speak. Do not type. Do not sigh. In that 60 seconds, you are going to perform an autopsy of the emotion. You are going to look at the anger like a scientist looking at a bug under a microscope. Ask yourself, where do I feel this? In my chest? In my throat? Ask yourself, what is this emotion trying to make me do? It wants me to yell. It wants me to hit send. By observing the emotion, you separate yourself from it. You are no longer angry. You are noticing anger. The difference is subtle, but it is everything. It is the difference between being the storm and being the observer of the storm. After 60 seconds, the chemical surge will begin to fade. Your prefrontal cortex, the logical brain, will come back online. Then, and only then, do you decide how to proceed. Most of the time, you will find that the action you wanted to take was stupid. You will find that silence is the better weapon. Stop letting the world push your buttons. Weld a cover over them. Be the man who cannot be provoked. Be the man who holds the letter in the drawer. Module 6. The hallucination of victory. You are a conqueror who has forgotten how to conquer. Deep within your genetic code, there is a drive that has existed for 200,000 years. It is the drive to hunt, to fight, to build shelter, to pursue a mate, to secure resources. This drive is the engine of masculine energy. It is what built civilization. But today, you have found a way to cheat the system. You have found a way to get the reward without the risk. You have found a way to feel like a king while living like a peasant. We call this the simulation trap. When you play a video game for 6 hours, slaying dragons and leading armies, your brain releases dopamine. It thinks you have achieved a great victory. It thinks you are a warrior. But in reality, you are sitting in a dark room, your muscles atrophying, your eyes straining, achieving absolutely nothing. When you watch pornography, your brain thinks you are reproducing. It thinks you are a dominant male spreading your genetic material with high-value mates. It rewards you with a flood of chemicals. But in reality, you are alone. You are a spectator. You are cuckolding yourself to a pixelated screen. When you watch sports, you scream at the television. You feel the tribal rush of warfare. You say, "We won." You did not win. They won. The athletes in the arena, sweating and bleeding, they won. You sat on a couch and ate carbohydrates. You are short-circuiting your biological feedback loop. You are pacifying the beast within you with digital tranquilizers. You are burning off the energy that should be used to build your empire. And instead, you are pouring it into a simulation that does not love you back. To understand the devastation of a society hooked on artificial bliss, we must look at the century of humiliation. We must look at the Opium Wars. In the 18th century, the British Empire had a problem. They wanted Chinese tea and silk, but they had nothing the Chinese wanted to buy. The balance of trade was bleeding Britain dry of silver. So, they found a product that the Chinese could not resist. Opium. They flooded the Middle Kingdom with the foreign mud. It started slowly, then it became a tidal wave. By the 1830s, millions of Chinese men were addicted. Imagine the scene in an opium den in Canton. The air is thick with sweet, cloying smoke. The room is dark, lit only by the faint glow of oil lamps. Rows of wooden bunks are stacked against the walls. On them lie men of all ages, soldiers, merchants, fathers, sons. They are skeletal. Their skin is yellow and waxy. Their eyes are glazed over, staring into a void that only they can see. They hold the long bamboo pipes with trembling hands, inhaling the vapor that promises them oblivion. In their minds, they are floating. They are emperors. They are surrounded by concubines and gold. They feel no pain. They feel no hunger. They feel no shame. But outside the den, their world is collapsing. Their families are starving because the father has sold the farm to buy more smoke. The army is useless because the soldiers are too weak to lift their spears. The British gunboats are steaming up the Pearl River, ready to shatter the sovereignty of a nation that has smoked itself into a coma. China did not fall because its walls were weak. It fell because its men were asleep. They traded their reality for a dream. They traded their strength for comfort. You are in the opium den. Your smartphone is the pipe. The algorithm is the opium. You are lying on the bunk, dreaming of being rich, dreaming of being fit, dreaming of being respected, while the hours of your life drift away like smoke. You are hallucinating victory while you lose the war for your actual life. Now, I know what you are thinking. You are defensive. You are thinking, it's just entertainment. I work hard. I deserve to relax. Video games improve my reflexes. It's not the same as a drug addiction. It is exactly the same. The biological mechanism is identical. Every time you settle for a simulated victory, you rob yourself of the motivation to pursue a real one. Why would you go to the gym and suffer under the iron when you can level up your character in a game with the click of a button? Why would you approach a woman and risk rejection when you can open a private browser tab? You are killing your ambition. Ambition is born from dissatisfaction. It is born from hunger. By constantly feeding yourself cheap, simulated meals, You are never hungry enough to hunt. You are comfortable. And comfort is the enemy of greatness. So, how do we escape the simulation? How do we smash the pipe and wake up? We implement the Creation Gate Protocol. This is a strict rule of exchange. You are no longer allowed to consume without producing. For every hour of leisure consumption, Netflix, video games, scrolling, watching sports, you must pay for it with 1 hour of creation. Creation is active. Lifting weights is creation. You are building muscle. Writing is creation. Cooking a meal from scratch is creation. Fixing something in your house is creation. Learning a skill is creation. If you want to watch a 2-hour movie, you owe yourself 2 hours of deep work first. If you want to play games for an hour, you must spend an hour in the gym first. You place the hard thing before the easy thing. You make the dopamine the reward for the effort, not the replacement for it. This changes the equation. Suddenly, the cheap thrill becomes expensive. You will find that you are less willing to waste 3 hours on TikTok if it means you have to pay for it with 3 hours of study. You will naturally start to curate your time. Stop living in the holodeck. Step out into the cold, hard, abrasive air of the real world. The graphics aren't as good. The rewards aren't instant. But it is the only place where you can actually build a legacy. Stop watching other men live. Start living. Module 7. The Temple of Iron. Your body is the only house you will ever truly own. And for many of you, it is a ruin. Look in the mirror. Strip down. Look at what you have built. Do you see a machine of war? Do you see a vessel capable of carrying your ambition across the finish line? Or do you see a soft, pale, doughy monument to excess and lethargy? We live in an era where men have forgotten the language of their own physicality. We sit in chairs for 12 hours a day. We eat processed sludge that barely qualifies as food. We transport our bodies from climate-controlled boxes to climate-controlled boxes, terrified of sweating, terrified of shivering, terrified of exertion. You treat your body like a rental car that you don't care if you wreck. But here is the brutal truth that the modern world tries to hide from you. The body is not separate from the mind. The body is the physical manifestation of the mind. If your body is weak, your will is weak. If you cannot control what you put in your mouth, you cannot control what you let into your thoughts. You cannot be a stoic sage in a body that is falling apart from neglect. It is a contradiction. A strong mind requires a strong vessel to carry it. Pain is the great teacher. Exertion is the great clarifier. There is a specific kind of clarity that only comes at the rep where you think you are going to die. There is a wisdom found in the lungs burning on a steep hill that you will never find in a book. To understand the transformation from weakness to power, we look to the 26th President of the United States, Theodore Roosevelt. Before he was the bull moose, before he was the Rough Rider charging up San Juan Hill, before he was the man who took a bullet in the chest and continued his speech, he was a sickly, fragile boy. New York City, 1870. Young Teddy is 12 years old. He is a skeleton. He suffers from debilitating asthma. Night after night, he wakes up gasping for air, clutching his throat, terrifying his parents who think he is about to die. He is nervous. He is timid. He is a victim of his own biology. His father, a man of iron, takes him aside one day. He looks the boy in the eye and says, "Theodore, you have the mind, but you have not the body. And without the body, the mind cannot go as far as it should. You must make your body." You must make your body. It was an ultimatum. It was a call to arms. Teddy didn't make excuses. He didn't say, "But I'm sick." He didn't say, "It's my genetics." He went to work. He built a gym on the second-floor porch of their house. For the next 5 years, he engaged in a savage regime of physical reconstruction. He lifted weights until his arms shook. He boxed. He rode. He hiked. He forced his lungs to expand. He forced his muscles to harden. He embraced what he later called the strenuous life. He went out west to the Badlands. He became a cowboy. He rode for days in the saddle, hunting bison, sleeping in the snow, capturing outlaws. He took the sickly clay of his childhood and forged it in the fire of voluntary hardship until he became an unstoppable force of nature. When he was president, he would box professional fighters in the White House basement. He would take ambassadors on point-to-point walks, where they would walk in a straight line through swamps and rivers, refusing to go around obstacles. He understood that if the body becomes soft, the spirit rots. He kept the iron sharp until the day he died. Compare this to the modern standard. We have a culture that celebrates body positivity to the point of delusion. We are told that being out of shape is just a lifestyle choice. We are told that we shouldn't judge. This is a lie designed to keep you weak. Your physical condition is a billboard that tells the world how much you respect yourself. When you walk into a room with a strong, capable physique, you project authority before you even open your mouth. It signals discipline. It signals that you can endure pain. It signals that you are dangerous, but disciplined. But when you walk in slouching, soft and breathless, you signal that you have given up. You signal that you are a slave to comfort. Now, I know what you are thinking. You are making the classic intellectual's defense. You are thinking, I'm not an athlete. I'm a knowledge worker. My value is in my brain, not my biceps. I don't have time to spend 2 hours in the gym. You are missing the point. Training is not about vanity. It is about sanity. When you lift a heavy weight, you are engaging in a battle with gravity. Gravity does not care about your feelings. It does not care about your excuses. If you are weak, it will crush you. The iron is the only honest thing left in the world. It teaches you humility. It teaches you that you cannot cheat the work. Furthermore, the "I don't have time" excuse is a confession of poor management. If the President of the United States could find time to box and hike, you can find 45 minutes to lift something heavy. You don't need time. You need priority. So, how do we begin the reconstruction? How do we introduce the element of hardship back into a soft life? We use the Arctic baptism protocol. This is the simplest, most effective way to train your will and your body simultaneously. It requires no equipment. It costs no money. It only costs you your comfort. Tomorrow morning you will take your shower. You will wash with warm water as usual. But before you get out, you will grab the temperature handle. You are going to turn it all the way to cold, the coldest setting possible. And you are going to stand there. Your body will gasp. Your heart rate will spike. You will hyperventilate. Your mind will scream, "Get out! This is crazy! Why are we doing this?" You will stay. You will force your breathing to slow down. Long, deep control. In through the nose, out through the mouth. You will look the pain in the face, and you will relax into it. You will stand under the freezing stream for 30 seconds. Then 60. Then 2 minutes. This is a microcosm of life. The cold water is the chaos of the world. It is the stress. It is the unexpected tragedy. The shivering, panicking reaction is your untrained mind. The slow, controlled breathing, that is the Stoic mind. By doing this every single morning, you are starting your day with a victory. You are telling your brain, I do not negotiate with comfort. I do what is hard. When you step out of that shower, shivering and alive, you will feel a rush of focus and aggression that no coffee can give you. You will be awake. You will be hardened. You will be ready to walk through the fire because you have already walked through the ice. Make your body a temple of iron, not a graveyard of sugar. Module 8. The bankruptcy of time. You are a spendthrift with the only currency that actually matters. If I asked you to burn a stack of $100 bills, you would call me insane. You would clutch your wallet to your chest. You value your money. You protect your assets. Yet every single day, you take hours of your life, irreplaceable, non-refundable hours, and you throw them into the incinerator. You act as if you are immortal. This is the great arrogance of the modern man. You live with the subconscious assumption that there will always be a later. You say, I will write that book later. I will get in shape later. I will reconcile with my brother later. You are hallucinating. Later is not a promised land. It is a fantasy. Seneca, the great Stoic philosopher, said it best 2,000 years ago. It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste a lot of it. We are not given a short life. We make it short. We are not ill-supplied, but wasteful of our time. You are procrastinating on your own existence. You are killing time, not realizing that time is slowly killing you. Every tick of the clock is a heartbeat. You will never get back. It is a step closer to the grave. To understand the proper relationship with mortality, to understand how to use death as a fuel for life. We go back to the height of the Roman Empire. We look at the ritual of the triumph. Imagine the scene. Rome. The streets are packed with 500,000 people. The air is thick with the smell of incense and sweat. The roar of the crowd is deafening. A victorious general is returning from war. He has conquered a new province. He has expanded the borders of the empire. He rides in a golden chariot drawn by 4 white horses. He wears a purple toga embroidered with gold stars. His face is painted red to resemble Jupiter, the king of the gods. He is, for this one day, the most powerful man on earth. Behind him march his soldiers, singing songs of victory. Behind them are the spoils of war. Gold, statues, exotic animals. And behind them, the prisoners. Kings and chieftains in chains, walking toward their execution. The general stands in the chariot, waving to the adoring mob. He feels invincible. He feels eternal. The adoration is intoxicating. It is the ultimate ego trip. But the Romans knew the danger of hubris. They knew that a man who thinks he is a god is a dangerous man. So, by law, a slave stood in the chariot right behind the general. Throughout the entire procession, amidst the cheering and the flowers raining down, the slave had one job. He would hold a laurel wreath over the general's head and whisper into his ear, over and over again. Memento mori. Memento mori. Remember that you will die. Remember that you are only a man. Remember that this glory is fleeting, and soon you will be nothing but dust in a tomb. The Romans planted the seed of death right in the center of the greatest victory. Why? Because they knew that without the awareness of death, life loses its urgency. If the general believed he was a god, he would become lazy. He would become cruel. He would lose his edge. The reminder of death kept him sharp. It kept him grounded. It reminded him that his time was limited, so he had to lead with virtue and purpose now. You do not have a slave whispering in your ear. Instead, you have a culture that hides death. We sanitize it. We put it in hospitals and funeral homes, tucked away out of sight. We use Botox and surgery to pretend we are not aging. We are terrified of the end, so we pretend the end does not exist. And because you pretend the end does not exist, you have no urgency. You drift. You float through your weeks like a leaf on a river, waiting for someday. Now, I know what you are thinking. You are thinking, this is morbid. This is depressing. I don't want to think about dying. I want to be positive. This is not negativity. This is reality. Ignoring gravity does not make you fly. It makes you fall. Ignoring death does not make you live longer. It makes you waste the life you have. Death is the scarcity that gives life its value. If gold were as common as dirt, it would be worthless. If life were infinite, it would be meaningless. The fact that your days are numbered is the only reason they matter. When you truly accept that you could die tomorrow, not as an intellectual concept, but as a visceral reality, you stop worrying about the petty nonsense. You stop caring about what your neighbor thinks of your car. You stop holding grudges. You stop hesitating. You become ferocious in your pursuit of what matters, because you know the clock is ticking. So, how do we install this operating system? How do we bring the slave into the chariot? We use the life calendar protocol. This is a visualization exercise, but it is also a physical artifact you must create. The average human life is about 4,000 weeks. That is it. 4,000 weekends. Get a piece of paper. Draw a grid of boxes. 52 boxes across. 80 boxes down. Each box represents 1 week of your life. Now, take a red pen. Calculate how many weeks you have already lived. If you are 30 years old, you have already burned through more than 1,500 weeks. Cross them out. Fill them in with red ink. Look at the paper. Look at the sea of red ink. That time is gone. It is ash. You cannot buy it back. You cannot beg for it back. Now look at the empty white boxes that remain. That is all you have left. And that is assuming you live to be 80. That is assuming you don't get hit by a bus tomorrow or get a diagnosis next week. Post this calendar on your wall. Somewhere you will see it every single morning. When you wake up and you feel lazy, look at the grid. When you are about to waste 3 hours watching cat videos, look at the grid. When you are afraid to ask for the raise or launch the business, look at the grid. You will see the white space shrinking. You will feel a knot in your stomach. Good. That knot is urgency. That knot is the antidote to procrastination. Take a black pen and cross off the current week every Sunday night. Make it a ritual. As the ink hits the paper, ask yourself, did I use this week, or did I throw it away? Stop living like you have 1,000,000 years in the bank. You are approaching bankruptcy. Spend your time with the ruthless precision of a man who knows the store is closing. Module 9. The Cult of Victimhood. There is a virus spreading through the veins of modern society. It is more contagious than any flu and more destructive than any war. It is the virus of victimhood. We live in an era that fetishizes weakness. We hand out social status to the man who can claim the most trauma. We compete to see who has been oppressed the most, who has the longest list of grievances, and who has the best excuse for why they are failing. You have caught this virus. When you lose a job, you blame the economy. When your relationship fails, you blame her crazy emotions. When you are out of shape, you blame your genetics or your busy schedule or the cost of healthy food. You point the finger outward. You are constantly looking for a villain in the movie of your life, because if there is a villain, then you get to be the innocent hero. But you are not the hero. You are the bystander. When you blame the world for your problems, you are making a transaction. You are trading your responsibility for your comfort. It feels good to say, "It's not my fault." It relieves the pressure. It soothes the ego. But the moment you say, "It's not my fault," you are also saying, "I have no power here." You are abdicating your throne. You are handing the keys to your life over to the person or the circumstance that hurt you. You are saying that they are stronger than you. You are choosing to be a leaf in the wind, blown around by the chaotic forces of the universe, rather than the tree that stands firm against the storm. To understand the difference between a victim and a victor, we must descend into the darkest hell a human being can endure. The Hanoi Hilton. The year is 1965. Commander James Stockdale is flying a mission over North Vietnam. His A-4 Skyhawk is hit by anti-aircraft fire. He ejects. As he floats down into a small village, he knows his life is over. He is beaten by a mob. His leg is shattered. He is dragged into a prison camp. For the next 7 years, Stockdale is subjected to conditions that would break an ordinary man in a week. He is starved. He is beaten. He is locked in leg irons in a concrete box with no windows. He is tortured repeatedly. He has every right to be a victim. He has every right to curse his government, to curse the war, to curl up in a ball and die. But Stockdale was a student of Stoicism. He had memorized the Enchiridion of Epictetus. He knew that while his captors could break his body, they could not touch his mind unless he let them. He noticed something interesting in the camp. He noticed who died first. It wasn't the pessimists. It was the optimists. The optimists were the men who said, "We will be out by Christmas." Christmas would come, and they would still be in chains. Then they would say, "We will be out by Easter." Easter would come and go. Then Thanksgiving. Eventually, they died of a broken heart. They died because they tied their survival to an external outcome they could not control. Stockdale took a different path. He embraced what is now known as the Stockdale paradox. He retained the absolute faith that he would prevail in the end. But he also confronted the most brutal facts of his current reality. He accepted the torture. He accepted the isolation. He accepted that he might be there for 10 years. He took ownership of his suffering. He turned the prison into a laboratory of the human spirit. He created a tap code system to communicate with other prisoners through the walls, building a brotherhood in the silence. He even disfigured his own face with a stool so the North Vietnamese could not use him for propaganda videos. He told his captors, "You can kill me, but you cannot use me." That is the ultimate assertion of power. In a situation where he had zero physical freedom, he exercised total spiritual sovereignty. He did not wait for rescue. He rescued himself, day by day, by refusing to be a victim of circumstance. Compare that to your life. You get stuck in traffic and you ruin your whole day. You don't get the promotion and you stop working hard. You are fragile because you believe the world owes you fairness. Let me be clear. The world owes you nothing. It was here before you, and it will be here after you. It is indifferent to your suffering. Now, I know what you are thinking. You are feeling a spike of resistance. You are thinking, but you don't understand what I've been through. I was abused. I was bankrupt. I have a chronic illness. These are real things. I am not making them up. I am not denying your pain. Bad things happen. Tragedy is real. Malice is real. But there is a difference between pain and suffering. Pain is the event. Suffering is the story you tell yourself about the event. You cannot control the event. You cannot control the fact that you were fired. But you control the narrative. Do you tell a story of oppression? Look what they did to me. Or do you tell a story of overcoming? Look how I rebuilt after they tried to destroy me. As long as you identify as a victim, you are telling the world that you are damaged goods. You are telling the world that your past is more powerful than your future. So, how do we kill the virus? How do we shift from blame to power? We execute the Radical Ownership Protocol. This is a linguistic reprogramming exercise. For the next 48 hours, you are forbidden from using the language of passivity. You must eliminate the following phrases from your vocabulary. He made me feel. I had no choice. I can't because they wouldn't let me. These are slave words. Instead, you will use the language of agency. Instead of saying, he made me angry, you will say, I chose to react with anger. Instead of saying, I don't have time, you will say, it is not a priority for me right now. Instead of saying, my boss is blocking me, you will say, I have not yet found a way to persuade my boss. Do you hear the difference? It is subtle, but it shifts the center of gravity. When you say, I chose, you are reclaiming the steering wheel. Even if you are choosing between two terrible options, the act of choosing restores your dignity. Take a piece of paper. Write down the one area of your life where you feel the most stuck. Your finances, your marriage, your health. Write down every single reason why it is not working. List all the external factors, the economy, the wife, the genetics. Now, burn that list. Take a fresh sheet of paper. At the top, write, how have I contributed to this problem? Be ruthless. Maybe you stayed in the job too long. Maybe you ignored the red flags in the relationship. Maybe you ate the junk food. This will hurt. It will sting your ego. But in that sting lies the cure. Because if you created the mess, then you have the power to clean it up. If you are responsible for the failure, you are capable of the success. Stop waiting for an apology that will never come. Stop waiting for the world to play fair. Pick up the pieces of your life, however broken they are, and build something invincible. Module 10. The Contagion of Mediocrity. You are being infected every single day, and you don't even know it. You protect your computer with antivirus software. You lock your doors to keep out thieves. You wash your hands to avoid bacteria. But you leave the front door of your mind wide open to the most dangerous pathogen on Earth. Other people. There is a biological reality you cannot escape. It is called emotional contagion. Humans are herd animals. We have mirror neurons in our brains. When you look at someone who is sad, your brain simulates sadness. When you listen to someone who is complaining, your brain releases cortisol. You physically sync up with the people around you. If you spend your days with men who are lazy, cynical, and defeated, you will become lazy, cynical, and defeated. It is not a possibility. It is a mathematical certainty. You are inhaling their worldview like secondhand smoke. You are trying to run a marathon while wearing a backpack filled with rocks. Those rocks are your friends, the ones who mock your ambition, the ones who tell you to take it easy, the ones who drag you back to the bar when you want to go to the gym. They are anchors, and they are drowning you. To understand the terrifying power of the crowd, we look to the writings of Seneca. Rome, 1st century AD. Seneca is a wealthy philosopher. He is disciplined. He is rational. He believes he is the master of his own mind. One day, he decides to visit the Colosseum during the midday break. He expects to see some light entertainment, maybe some comedy, maybe some displays of skill. He goes to relax. Instead, he walks into a slaughterhouse. The midday games were not for the professional gladiators. They were for the criminals. Unarmed men were thrown into the arena with lions and bears, or they were forced to butcher each other with no defensive armor. It was pure, unadulterated butchery. The crowd went wild. They screamed for blood. They foamed at the mouth, demanding death. Seneca sat there, watching, and he felt something shift inside him. The rational philosopher began to fade. The animal brain took over. He felt his pulse quicken. He felt a surge of aggression. He caught himself cheering for the kill. He left the arena shaken to his core. He wrote a letter to his friend Aurelius, terrified by what had happened. He wrote, "I returned home more greedy, more ambitious, more voluptuous, and even more cruel and inhuman, because I had been among human beings." Think about that. One of the wisest men who ever lived was turned into a savage simply by sitting in a crowd of savages for an hour. If Seneca could not resist the contagion of the mob, what makes you think you can? You sit at lunch with colleagues who hate their jobs. They gossip. They whine about the boss. They talk about how the system is rigged. You listen. You nod. And slowly, your soul starts to rot. You leave that table feeling heavy. You feel drained. You have lost your edge. This is the law of association. You become the average of the 5 people you interact with the most. If your circle is broke, you will be broke. If your circle is fat, you will be fat. If your circle is divorced and angry, you will be divorced and angry. You are operating a high-performance engine, but you are pouring sugar into the gas tank by surrounding yourself with losers. Now, I know what you are thinking. You are feeling guilty. You are thinking, but they are my friends. I've known them since high school. I can't just abandon them. That's cold. I should help them. I can be the light that changes them. This is the savior complex, and it is a trap. You cannot save a drowning man if you do not have a firm footing yourself. If you jump into the water with them, they will climb on top of you to breathe, and you will both drown. Loyalty to the past is stupidity. Just because you sat next to someone in algebra class 15 years ago does not mean they have a lifetime pass to pollute your future. You are evolving. They are so stagnant. When you try to improve, they feel threatened. Your success holds a mirror up to their failure. So they sabotage you. They make little comments. "Oh, look at Mr. Big Shot. You've changed." Yes, you have changed. That is the point. You need to understand that a friend who resents your growth is not a friend. They are an enemy disguised as a drinking buddy. You need to cut the dead weight. So, how do we sanitize your social environment? How do we build a brotherhood of iron instead of a confederacy of dunces? We initiate the quarantine protocol. This is a ruthless audit of your social circle. Take a piece of paper. Write down the names of the 5 people you spend the most time with. Next to each name, you are going to write one word, either engine or anchor. An engine is someone who pushes you. When you leave them, you feel energized. You feel like you can conquer the world. They talk about ideas, business, growth, and the future. An anchor is someone who holds you back. When you leave them, You feel tired. They talk about people, the past, drama, and problems. Now, look at the list. If you have anchors, you have two choices. Choice A, total excision. You cut them off. You stop answering the texts. You stop showing up. This is hard, but it is the most effective. Choice B, strategic distance. You downgrade them. They are no longer inner circle. They are acquaintances. You see them once a month for 1 hour in a controlled environment. You do not let them into your head. And then, you must hunt for engines. You will not find them at the bar. You will find them in the gym at 5 a.m. You will find them in business seminars. You will find them in places where difficulty is required. It is better to be alone than to be in bad company. Solitude is a laboratory for the mind. Bad company is a sewer. Don't be afraid of the lonely period. That is the vacuum. Nature abhors a vacuum. When you clear out the trash, you create the space for high-value men to enter your life. Curate your circle like you are curating a museum. Only the best are allowed inside the velvet rope. Module 11. The illusion of safety. You are drowning in a shallow pool because you are too afraid to stand up. We have spoken of discipline, of time, of the body. But all of these tools are useless if you are paralyzed by the fear of failure. You live in the most risk-averse society in human history. We have insurance for our cars, insurance for our health, insurance for our phones, and insurance for our lives. We wear helmets to ride bicycles. We have warning labels on coffee cups telling us the contents are hot. We have padded the corners of existence, and in doing so, we have created a generation of men who are terrified of the unknown. You have a plan B. You have a safety net. You have a backup option. And that is exactly why you are failing. As long as you have a way out, you will take it. As long as retreat is an option, your brain will subconsciously steer you toward it the moment the pressure gets too high. You are not being smart. You are pre-planning your own defeat. You are keeping one foot out the door, ready to run back to mediocrity the second the wind blows hard. Greatness requires a total, terrifying, irrational commitment. It requires you to position yourself on ground where you cannot retreat. To understand the power of no return, we look to the shores of Mexico in the year 1519. We look to Hernán Cortés. Cortés lands at Veracruz with 500 soldiers, 100 sailors, and 16 horses. He is there to conquer the Aztec Empire, a civilization of millions, ruled by the terrifying Moctezuma. The odds are not just bad, they are suicidal. His men are tired. They are hungry. They are terrified. They look at the jungle ahead, teeming with unknown warriors, and their knees shake. They look back at the ocean, at the 11 ships bobbing in the harbor, their ticket home, their safety. They start to whisper. They talk of mutiny. They talk of sailing back to Cuba. They want to escape the pressure. Cortés sees this. He knows that as long as those ships are floating, his men are only half committed. He knows that when the first arrow flies, they will run for the beach. So, he issues an order that defies all logic. Burn the ships. Imagine the scene. The men stand on the sand, watching in horror as their only exit goes up in flames. The timber cracks. The sails turn to ash. The black smoke rises into the tropical sky, blotting out the sun. The ships sink into the harbor. Silence falls over the army. Cortés turns to them. He points to the jungle. He points to the city of gold and blood that lies ahead. and he says, "There is no way home. We conquer or we die." In that moment, the psychology of the army shifted. The option of retreat was incinerated. The fear of death was replaced by the necessity of victory. They fought with the ferocity of demons because they had no other choice, and against impossible odds, they toppled an empire. You are standing on the beach, but you have kept your ships. You want to start a business, but you keep your resume polished, just in case. You want to lose weight, but you keep the junk food in the pantry for the guests. You want to save your marriage, but you keep the divorce lawyer's number in your contacts. You are hedging your bets, and because you are hedging, you are holding back. You are not fighting like a man with no exit. You are fighting like a tourist who can leave whenever he wants. Now, I know what you are thinking. You are the voice of reason. You are thinking, "That's reckless. I have a family. I have a mortgage. I can't just burn my life down. I need security." There is no such thing as security. Security is a superstition. It does not exist in nature. A meteor could hit the earth tomorrow. The economy could collapse. You could have an aneurysm while you sleep. The safety you think you have is an illusion. By clinging to safety, you are taking the biggest risk of all, the risk of waking up at 80 years old, realizing you lived a half-life, realizing you never really tested yourself, realizing you died with your best work still inside you. The only true security is your own ability to handle chaos, and you only build that ability by stepping into the fire. So, how do we burn the ships in the modern world? How do we manufacture the death ground? We use the point of no returns protocol. You are going to create a scenario where failure is more painful than success. Currently, if you fail to reach your goal, nothing happens. You just feel a little bad. Nobody knows. There are no consequences. We need to raise the stakes. Choose a goal. A hard one. Writing the first chapter of your book. Losing 10 pounds. Launching the website. Now, write a check. Make it out to an organization you despise, a political party you hate, a group that stands against everything you believe in. Make the amount painful, not $50, $500, $1,000, an amount that would make you physically sick to lose. Give that check to a friend, a ruthless friend. Give them these instructions. If I do not show you proof that I have completed this task by date and time, you mail this check. Suddenly, the ships are burning. Suddenly, procrastination is not an option. You will not sleep. You will not scroll on your phone. You will work with a manic intensity because the alternative is unacceptable. You are hacking your own survival instinct. You are tricking your brain into believing that this project is a matter of life and death. Because, in a spiritual sense, it is. Stop giving yourself a way out. Lock the door, swallow the key, and fight your way forward. Module 12. The Eulogy of the Living. We have arrived at the end, and fittingly, we end where we must all end, in the silence of the grave. Most men live as if they are rehearsing for a life that will happen later. They treat their current existence as a rough draft. They think they can edit the mistakes, delete the bad chapters, and fix the plot holes in post-production. But there is no editing room. The ink is wet. The page is turning. Every single action you take is being etched into the granite of your legacy. The terrifying truth is that most of you will be forgotten. Not in 1,000 years, but in 2 generations. Your grandchildren will barely know your name. Your great-grandchildren will not know you existed. You will be a faceless ghost in a dusty photo album. You will be consumed by the absolute oblivion of time. Unless you build something that defies the erosion of the years. Unless you live with such ferocity and purpose that the echo of your life continues to ring long after your lungs have collapsed. To understand the power of rewriting your own ending, we look to Paris in the year 1888. We look to the story of Alfred. Alfred was a wealthy man. He was an inventor. He had made a fortune creating something that changed the world: dynamite. He was a merchant of explosives. He built an empire on the ability to destroy rock and flesh and bone. One morning, Alfred woke up and opened the newspaper. He was confused to see his own name in the headlines. It was an obituary. His brother had died in France, but the newspaper had made a mistake. They thought Alfred had died. He read the words with horror. The headline screamed, "The Merchant of Death is dead." The article went on to describe him as a man who had become rich by finding ways to kill more people faster than ever before. It painted him as a monster, a war profiteer, a villain. Alfred sat there, holding the paper, reading the verdict of history while he was still alive. He saw exactly how the world perceived him. He saw the sum total of his life reduced to destruction. He was shaken to his very soul. He realized that if he died that day, his legacy was ash. He would be remembered only for death. But because of that mistake, because he was given the rare privilege of reading his own eulogy, he had a chance to change the script. He took his fortune, the millions he had made from dynamite, and he wrote a new will. He dedicated his wealth to establishing a set of prizes. Prizes for those who conferred the greatest benefit on mankind. Prizes for physics, chemistry, medicine, literature, and peace. Alfred's last name was Nobel. Today, when you hear the name Nobel, you do not think of dynamite. You do not think of the merchant of death. You think of the greatest minds on earth. You think of peace. You think of human progress. He hijacked his own legacy. He pivoted from destruction to creation because he saw the end, and he didn't like it. You do not need a newspaper mistake to have this realization. You can look at your life right now. If you died today, what would the headline be? Here lies a man who watched a lot of Netflix. Here lies a man who was always meaning to start a business. Here lies a man who was afraid of judgment. Is that what you want on your tombstone? Is that the summary of your struggle? Now, I know what you are thinking. You are thinking, I don't care about legacy. I'll be dead. It doesn't matter. That is the nihilist talking. That is the weak man trying to justify his lack of impact. Legacy is not for you. Legacy is for the ones you leave behind. A strong legacy provides a path for your children. It provides a standard of excellence that echoes through your bloodline. If you leave nothing but debt and bad habits, you are cursing your descendants. If you leave a name built on honor, discipline, and achievement, you are giving them a shield. So, here is the final protocol, the obituary audit. Tonight, you are going to write 2 documents. Document 1, the default future. Write the obituary of the man you are right now. If you do not change a single habit, if you keep scrolling, keep eating the garbage, keep procrastinating, where do you end up in 40 years? Be brutal. Describe the mediocrity. Describe the regret. Describe the lonely hospital bed. Document 2, the architect. Write the obituary of the man you are capable of becoming. The man who mastered his dopamine. The man who built the body of iron. The man who burned the ships. Describe the empire he built. Describe the lives he changed. Describe the funeral packed with people who weep because a giant has fallen. Now, look at the two papers. The distance between them is the work you have to do. You are the author. The pen is in your hand. The ink is your time. Every morning you wake up is a fresh page. Do not scribble nonsense. Do not leave it blank. Write a story that is worth reading. The conclusion. We have walked a long road together in this last hour. We have dissected the weakness of the modern age. We exposed the dopamine war and the slavery of the screen. We rebuilt the temple of iron and the callous of the mind. We learned to freeze time, to burn ships, and to stand in the freezing water until the panic subsides. We learned to look death in the face and smile. You now possess the knowledge, but knowledge, by itself, is dead weight. The libraries of the world are filled with smart men who lived small lives. They knew what to do, but they lacked the fire to do it. You are standing at the threshold. Behind you is the warm, comfortable, sedated cave of the average man. It is safe there. There are no predators. There is endless entertainment. But there is no life. There is only a slow, comfortable decay. In front of you is the wild. It is cold. It is dangerous. It requires you to bleed. It requires you to sweat. It requires you to kill the boy inside so the man can be born. But out there, in the storm, that is where the glory is. That is where you find out what you are actually made of. The Stoic mind is not a passive mind. It is not about suppressing your emotions until you are a robot. It is about channeling the raw nuclear energy of your human nature into a laser beam of purpose. It is about being the eye of the hurricane. The world spins in chaos, but you stand still. You stand strong. You are the anchor. Do not let this audio be just another thing you consumed. Do not let this be another dopamine hit that makes you feel productive for an hour before you slide back into the sludge. Take one thing from this, one protocol, the cold shower, the grayscale phone, the impossible stare, and execute it. Today, not tomorrow. Today. War is not coming. War is here. It is in your pocket. It is in your mind. It is in the mirror. Pick up your weapon and fight. The invitation. If you have listened this far, you are not like the others. The herd has already clicked away. They are already back to the cat videos and the outrage bait. But you are still here. That means you are looking for the exit. We are building a legion. We are building a stronghold for the men who refuse to be sedated. If you want to receive the daily intelligence briefings, the short, sharp injections of philosophy and strategy to keep your mind sharpened like a razor, then join us. Subscribe to the channel. Turn on the signal. We do not beg for attention. We command it. Welcome to the resistance.